The mighty KTM 690 Enduro. Is it not a thing of beauty, a mechanical work of art, a unicorn? Or am I just blinded by my blatant adoration of this wonderful machine? How's it going, guys? I've been requested by one of my subscribers, Michael, so I don't know your first name, dude, to try and quantify why I love this bike, why I chose to purchase this bike, and probably most importantly of all, fucking March flies, why I chose to keep this one rather than the Tenere 700. Now, it is a fairly convoluted situation. There is no easy answer to that question. There are a lot of factors at play, but I'll do my best to try and explain it from my point of view. But firstly, why is this bike so hated by a lot of people? And yeah, maybe that's just my perception, but it kind of feels like it is. For starters, it doesn't get the views on YouTube that the Tenere 700 did. But even more so than that, I think, was the reaction of my riding buddies. So when I first got this bike, I still had the T7 for around about 6 months, I think. If you've been watching this channel, you'll know. And whenever a ride was being teed up, one of the guys would ask me, oh, which bike are you bringing? And of course, the 690 was the new horse in the stable, so I was more keen to ride that all the time. But whenever I said 690, you could almost feel the disappointment in their voices, or see it in their eyes. You know, for whatever reason, they seem to prefer me bringing the T7. Is that because they thought I'd be wanting to do more gnarly stuff on this bike? Or is it just because this bike is less cool? And look, there's no doubt in my mind that this bike is less cool than the T7, but you know, coolness ain't everything. This bike is not particularly good at any one thing, but a lot of people agree it is as close to a unicorn as you can get. And that's going to depend a lot on your riding bias. If you prefer adventure riding on flat dirt roads, bitumen roads, whatever, obviously this thing is not going to be good for you. If you're more oriented towards the dirt riding, off-road, proper hard stuff, and with a little bit of road stuff or dirt roads thrown in, then you know, this is a no-brainer. Now don't worry, we're not going to sit here and talk shit all day. We are going to jump on the bike and I'll try and explain stuff as we ride along. But firstly, this particular track right here is one very good reason why I preferred this bike over the T7. So this track does get quite steep downhill, gets quite narrow, closed in. I did take the T7 down there a little way when I had it and thought, nah, there's no way I'm turning around, coming back out. It was just getting too tight, too steep to be able to turn it around easily. As it was, it took me a lot of time to turn that big heavy thing around. So at the end of the day, that is a huge part of the reasoning, guys. This bike is 50 to 60 kilograms lighter than the Tenere 700, and when you get into sticky situations, you feel every single one of those kilograms on the T7, and you are so glad that you don't have them on this bike. Anyway, let's get rolling. Right, now, disclaimer, I may not be able to get very far down this track anyway. It may be overgrown, it may be just too steep for even this bike, but I'm very confident that I'll be able to get further than I did on the T7. Now, a quick history lesson for those of you that are new to the channel. I turned 49 this year. Been riding properly for about 9 years. Started when I was 40. You know, I dabbled with oh, look at the view out there. I had like a DT 175 and a KDX 200 when I was, you know, like 19 or 20. But yeah, I never really got into dirt biking that much. So yeah, been pretty much full on into it for 9 years now, and started off pretty much with the enduro bike. You know, I had a few enduro bikes. The one that I had for the longest was a KTM 500 EXC. I didn't adventure ride that KTM 500 in any shape or form. It was just pretty much a weekend trailblazer, you know. I didn't do hard enduro competitions or any shit like that. Just stuff like this, single tracks and yeah, gnarly hill climbs and shit, just usual trail riding shit that people do on little bikes like that. And I'm pretty sure Yeah, it was, I'm sure it was a bit more overgrown than this before, but I remember, yeah, I went past here on the T7 and that's when I started thinking, that might be a bit too much. There's a little bit of a rock step there, like it's nothing now. You can imagine if this was closed in, no room at all to turn around. It's actually looking a bit better now. So yeah, I did that sort of enduro riding, if you want to call it that. I don't think it's really enduro riding, but trail riding. Trailered the bike to the tracks, as you do with those high maintenance bikes. Come on, gotta keep going in stealth mode. It's easier to talk when I don't have to yell over the great big 690 honking fucking piston pumping up and down. So yeah, like eventually I thought, I wanted to try my hand at adventure riding. Got the T7, the Tenere 700. Did quite a lot of kilometres on that, 50,000-ish I think. I liked riding it off-road, proper off-road. But I also loved getting out and exploring a bit of the country and just seeing different sites and just being able to ride and camp and all that sort of stuff. I loved it, I really did. This is a cool freaking truck, man. I don't know if you can tell, the camera won't be picking up how steep we're going down. It's not super steep, but it's a hill. So why did I pick up the 690 after all that? So I got the 690 because, as a couple of you guys know, my heart is in the dirt. My heart is doing this stuff, and this bike, right, to me it feels every bit as capable as the 500 EXC. So I think at the end of the day, guys, I realised that as much as I love the adventure riding, I like doing this stuff better. And it started getting to the point where, for me, sitting on that bike, doing long days in the saddle, like just dirt roads, bitumen roads, just 8 hours sitting there or whatever, 10 hours sitting there on the bike, you're sort of not really moving around. I would start to ache, like my back would ache. I don't want to sound like a whiny old bitch here, but I am getting on a bit. I mean, there's a lot of guys a lot older than me still adventure riding and not complaining about it, but yeah, my back aches on the bike, my neck starts to ache. I mean, this helmet is kind of loaded down with technology most of the time, which is a bit of a factor towards that. But riding stuff like this, it's hard to explain, but it's a better sore than having a freaking aching back and sore neck. Yeah, shit, I could tell that this was going to be a steep track by the contour lines on the map. How about that view, eh? Oh, beautiful. So yeah, like where I live, there's so much of this sort of riding around without having to travel too far. And this is kind of a no-brainer. Like, so why didn't I go back to a 500 EXC? Well, that just comes down to, I guess the bottom line is laziness. Like, this is a low maintenance bike, right? 10,000k. Oil changes, not that anyone in their right mind would wait 10,000 Ks to change the oil and filter on this. You want to probably do it at 5,000 Ks, but it's still better than 500 Ks or 15 hours or 30 hours or whatever it is on the enduro bikes, So there's less maintenance, and because of that, and because this thing, like, it's not nice on the road, it's not nice, but it's bearable. And I don't own a car, I don't own a trailer, I don't own a ute, I don't have any way of transporting my bike to the trails, and I don't want to have to own a car or a ute just for that purpose. So if I can ride my bike to the trails, then very good. And being able to do that on the 690 without having to worry about changing the oil every time I get home, and this thing's got a cush hub and a windscreen and mirrors, like it's all road legit. Holy crap. Yeah, this bike is just the obvious choice for me. I think I'm gonna just have a little walk down there before I go too much further. Oh, it can't be too bad. Come on, Josh, you're on the fucking 690. This thing can smash up here, no worries. Jesus. As long as the ruts aren't fucking 3 feet deep. Don't get me wrong, you can get yourself into trouble on a 690. No problem at all. Looks okay over here. Holy moly. Hey, the camera never does justice, but I'm telling you, it's going to be a bit of fun getting out of here even on this bike. Glad I've got that fairly new tyre on. So yeah, basically that's why I wanted a 690 over an enduro bike. I wanted something that I could ride to the trails without any worries and less maintenance. So that's where the 690 came into it. I guess the next question is, why did I get rid of the T7? Now, I mean, some of you guys will know I was at a point in my life where I could only keep one bike. I had to get rid of one or the other. And the main reason at the time I got rid of the T7 was because we were doing the motorhome thing, and I did not want to have the weight of the T7 on the back of the motorhome on a bike carrier. So I wasn't going to get a trailer. There's no way I was going to get a trailer behind the motorhome. So, you know, the 690 was the choice for that. Easier to load up on the bike carrier, a lot less strain on the tow hitch, all that stuff. But all things being even, take the whole motorhome scenario out of the equation, and if I had to get rid of one or the other, I still think it would have been the T7 that I would have gotten rid of. Now why that is for reasons I've already mentioned. I was getting a bit tired of the big long days sitting on an adventure bike. I wanted to do more of this stuff, but also probably the main reason would be is that this bike is just so much more fun to me. This bike, like the T7's cool, man, and like it's a fucking awesome bike, don't get me wrong. Cruising, like if I had to ride to someone's house an hour away or whatever, I would much rather be on the T7. It's a lovely thing to ride on the road. It's a beautiful bike. People hear it and they see it and they're like, wow, this is a freaking cool bike. Well, they used to, back when there weren't so many of them around. Now they're fucking everywhere. But I know they're still a very cool bike. But this is fun. Because I still had the T7 and this one for about 6 months, and I think I took the T7 out once in that whole time. I would go for this one every time, and it's just so much more fun to me. Because it's 60 kilos lighter, you can jump it over the erosion mounds, you can pop wheelies. It's just a fun freaking bike, and you can go down trails like this and not worry about getting back up. You can ride it within reason through muddy bog holes and not worry too much about getting stuck and having to get a four-wheel drive to pull you out, because this bike is it's night and day with the T7. I feel like I'm rambling shit, guys, but yeah, the T7 is a very capable off-road bike, but its weight definitely is its downfall, whereas this bike doesn't have that problem. It's still heavy compared to an enduro bike, but to me it's in that sweet spot. It's not too heavy, and it'd be good if it was a little bit lighter, but the lighter the bike, the less enjoyable it is on the road, and this thing's already a bit of a pig on the road. It's fine. It's fine for short distances. I would not flog this motor on the road all day long. It's just not designed for that. This is where this bike wants to be. Yeah, here's one track that I never would have known what was down here if I still just had the T7. Now, aside from the obvious maintenance stuff like oil changes, oil filters, air filters, all that sort of stuff being a lot easier on this bike, there is also the less obvious stuff, and that comes down to even just being able to put this thing up on a stand. It's not that hard to get it up on a little dirt bike static stand if you need to do some work on it, rather than having to use a big hydraulic lift, which I needed to do with the T7. Then you got things like the chain and sprockets. Now, this bike has the 520 chain and sprockets, which are much easier to find decent off-road combinations, cheaper chains, rather than the 525 chains that are on bigger bikes like the Tenere 700. Even simple things like the back rim size, this being a 2.5 inch rim rather than a 4 inch rim, so you can run tyres, regular dirt bike tyres, such as 120, 130 wide, you can go for the ever popular Dunlop D606, which, you know, I have heard of people running on the T7 4-inch rim, but I wouldn't try it myself. So yeah, a bigger range of proper dirt bike tyres on this one. They are cheaper to buy, of course, to the smaller tyres. This one is actually a 140 Golden Tyre GT 723, but yeah, you definitely can run 120s, 130s on these rims, and they're much easier to change as well if you do that stuff yourself. Up front, of course, we've got the convenience of one disc, single disc, so you've only got 2 brake pads up front rather than 4 on the T7. Also, of course, makes the front wheel easier to get off. You don't have to remove one of the brake calipers to get the tyre through, to get the wheel off. Now, I haven't done a valve inspection on this bike yet. It will be coming up in a couple more 1,000 kilometers, so not too far away, and I don't know how difficult it's going to be, but I can pretty much confidently say that it's going to be a lot easier than the T7. I did do a valve check on the T7. Basically had to undo all the engine mounts, disconnect everything, and drop the engine forward to clear the valve cover and be able to get that off. So it was a massive nightmare. I'm pretty confident that this bike is going to be a lot easier, and it's only got 1 cylinder too, so half as much work there. There are, of course, other little things like much easier spark plug access. You got the 2 spark plugs on the side here, so if you need to de-water the bike, if you drown it or whatever, much easier to get these spark plugs out than the T7 plugs. Now, doing oil changes on this bike isn't as easy as the T7. The T7 is probably the easiest bike I've ever done an oil change on. It's 1 oil filter cartridge on the outside and oil, and that's it. This one, of course, has 2 oil filters, 2 screens, and about 17 drain plugs. No, not quite that many. It is harder to do oil changes on this bike, but it's not that hard. And when it comes to air filters, I can't really comment on the newer models or the models that don't have the Raid Garage auxiliary fuel tank under here, because they have a different airbox setup. But with mine, with the Raid Garage tank, the air filter access is super easy. You don't need any tools. You pop the seat off and the air filter's right there. Pretty much the same deal, of course, on the Tenere 700 and the KTM 500 EXC. That is one massive thing to me. If air filter access is not easy, I probably won't buy that bike. But there you go. You know, bike maintenance is a big part of owning a motorcycle, so you've got to really take that into consideration as well. So yeah, maintenance is, you know, a big reason why I chose this over an Enduro. Obviously, the T7 is less maintenance. You know, it only needs valve checked every 40,000 kilometers or something like that. But yeah, the Enduro bikes, too much maintenance, especially if you want to ride them to the trails all the time. You know, you're just killing those little motors. Don't get me wrong, I'm under no illusion that this engine is going to last anywhere near as long as the Yamaha T7 motor will last. But you know, on the other hand, this, like the 690, has got such a bad reputation for shitty reliability, which sort of really put me off getting one for a long time. But since I've had this thing, it's just been, it's been perfect. It's been such a good bike. This might be the end of the line. Private property. Alright, well, we made it down to the end of this freaking track. But yeah, had no real problems. If you saw that video, I did have, you know, the dash on the 690 did crap out after a crash, but put the trail tech on there. No dramas. See, this bike doesn't have CAN bus, which is another awesome thing. Just a basic motor, man. It didn't even need that dash connected to ride the bike. Just kept going without it and all. Anyway, guys, I'm going to see if we can get back up this, in one go without stopping. And it's just got that big thumper low down grunt, I love it. Gotta sit down as much as I can, because I've actually got the steg pegs off at the moment. I don't have steg pegs on here, so the old arms will get tired. I'll sit down a bit, should be right. sometimes I'll be doing a hill like this and I'll be like, yeah, haven't gotten to the steep bit yet, and then all of a sudden I'm at the top. I'm like, oh, well maybe that was the steep bit. This bike just makes it so easy. Now we're getting onto the steep bit now. Oh, damn it. Second gear was too much. Yeah, changing down gears was never my strong point. I'm like, nah, second gear should be right. I reckon I can get going here. So you gotta find a little bit of grip. There we go. Sit back. That was a little bit touch and go there. If I hadn't lost my momentum, no worries. Got up, folks, we got up. That's the main thing. Oh, here we go. Forgot about that fucking rock step. Alright, got over it. Installed it in second again. I want 690. Yeah, she has done this to me before. Once. Just need a little bit of time to cool down or something. Here she goes again. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah. I find it interesting that some people, as they get older, migrate towards the bigger adventure bikes, and they sort of enjoy doing the boring, not boring, you know, the easy dirt roads and all that sort of stuff, touring around. And some of us, like me, get older and I guess we still want to keep doing this sort of stuff, and we just can't really do it on the bigger bike, so we go for something lighter. I guess now everybody's different in what they want to do on a motorcycle, and yeah, if you want to keep doing the hard shit, then you got to think about getting something lighter, unless you're strong enough to pick the damn big bikes up, or good enough to not drop them at all. But yeah, I'm a fairly, like, I'm only 5'10", 5'9", 5'10", not tall enough to not drop bikes ever, and I don't like lowering my bikes, so I like having that ground clearance. This bike is still fun to ride fast. well, so just got to be a little bit careful around those blind corners and over those blind humps. A fucking tree down or something and it's good night, Josh. You ain't riding again for another 6 to 8 weeks. Or ever again. Perish that fucking thought. It's definitely easy to outride your skill level on a bike like this, get a little bit carried away. So anyway, there you have it, guys. Hopefully that has mostly made some kind of sense to you. As I said, it's not an easy question to answer. That one is quite long and complicated, but yeah, those are my reasons. I guess if I had to sum it up in one sentence, why I love the 690, it's because it's a fucking capable off-road beast, which is low maintenance and so much fun to ride. So much fun, like, yeah, like just blasting down to the shops to grab a bottle of milk or whatever, popping wheelies up the street. Not that I ever do that. I don't condone that sort of shit, but don't do it. But yeah, it's the ultimate hoon bike, you know. It's a powerful single-cylinder beast with off-road cred up the wazoo, and you can just fucking pop wheelies and ride it like an idiot, and it just loves it, and I fucking love it too. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you soon. Back out on the 690. Peace.